Were the Nephilim real giants, fallen angels, or the hybrid offspring of the Anunnaki bloodline? It's a question that has puzzled theologists such as Graham Hancock, Billy Carson, and Matt LaCroix, and other controversial figures in most recent times. Tonight we're diving deep into the mysterious world of these legendary giant beings, exploring ancient Sumerian accounts, cultural myths, and modern theories that surround the existence of giants. Let's start with the Book of Genesis, where we first encounter the enigmatic sons of God mixing with the daughters of men. But what does this cryptic passage really mean, and how does it relate to the Nephilim? To shed more light on this mystery, we'll turn to other ancient texts, like the Book of Enoch and the Dead Sea Scrolls. These sources describe the Nephilim as enormous, powerful beings. But were they truly giants, in the literal sense? Or is there more to this story? As we dig deeper, we'll uncover a fascinating connection between the biblical Nephilim giants and the Sumerian myths of the Anunnaki. These celestial beings, who supposedly descended from the heavens to interact with humans, bear striking similarities to the Nephilim giants. Could it be that the Nephilim were actually the result of Anunnaki-human hybridization? But the story doesn't end there. Myths of giant beings aren't limited to the Middle East. We'll explore similar legends from around the world, from the Greek Titans to the Norse Jotnar, and even Native American folklore. Is it possible that these widespread legends point to a global memory of actual giant beings in ancient history? Of course, we can't ignore the alleged archaeological evidence. Over the years, there have been numerous claims of giant skeleton discoveries and megalithic structures that seem to defy conventional explanation. While many of these claims remain unverified, they continue to fuel the mysteries surrounding the Nephilim and their possible existence. This brings us to one of the most intriguing theories of all. Could the Nephilim be evidence of ancient genetic engineering by the Anunnaki? The concept of forbidden DNA, a lost chapter in human origins, is a tantalizing one that we'll explore in depth. Throughout this documentary, we'll delve into these fascinating topics, examining the evidence, theories, and cultural impact of the Nephilim legend. We'll ask tough questions and consider multiple perspectives, always striving to separate fact from fiction. So, join us as we embark on this journey through time and myth, seeking answers to one of history's most enduring mysteries. Were the Nephilim real? And if so, what were they really? Giants, fallen angels, or something even more extraordinary? Stay tuned as we unravel the enigma of the Nephilim, the alleged giants, and the Anunnaki bloodlines. Let's start with the Book of Genesis. As we mentioned earlier, it mentions sons of God mixing with daughters of men. But what does this cryptic phrase really mean? Some interpret it as describing supernatural beings interbreeding with humans, potentially creating a race of giants. But is there more to this story? The Book of Enoch and the Dead Sea Scrolls provide additional details. These texts describe the Nephilim as enormous, powerful beings. In fact, some accounts suggest they were up to 450 feet tall. Can you imagine creatures of that size walking the earth? It's almost beyond comprehension. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The ancient Sumerians had their own accounts of giant beings. They called them the Anunnaki. According to Sumerian texts dating back to around 3500 BCE, the Anunnaki were celestial gods who came to Earth from Nibiru, a planet outside of our solar system. They were said to be much taller and more advanced than humans. Could these Anunnaki be related to the Nephilim mentioned in other texts? Some researchers believe that the Anunnaki created the Nephilim as a hybrid race. But why? One theory suggests it was an attempt to create a workforce for mining gold. However, these beings were reportedly too large and didn't live long enough to be effective. It's a fascinating concept, isn't it? The idea of ancient aliens creating a race of giants for their own purposes. Now, let's look at some recent findings that have added fuel to this already blazing fire of speculation. In 2016, a team of archaeologists in Iran claimed to have discovered a necropolis with dozens of skeletons measuring between 10 and 12 feet tall. While these claims haven't been independently verified, they've certainly sparked renewed interest in the Nephilim theory. Another intriguing discovery came in 2019 when researchers analyzing DNA from a 31,000-year-old tooth found evidence of a previously unknown group of people in Siberia. Could these be descendants of the Nephilim or Anunnaki beings? It's too early to say, but it certainly raises some interesting questions. In 2020, a study of ancient Mesopotamian clay tablets revealed new details about the Anunnaki story. These texts date back to around 2100 BCE. They describe the Anunnaki gods as having advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics. Some researchers interpret this as evidence of their extraterrestrial origin. A 2021 analysis of the Dead Sea Scrolls using AI technology uncovered previously hidden text that mentions giants of immeasurable strength. This finding has reignited debates about the nature and existence of the Nephilim. Most recently, in 2022, satellite imagery revealed massive geometric patterns in the deserts of the Middle East, some over 2 miles long. While their purpose remains unknown, some speculate they could be remnants of ancient Anunnaki technology or Nephilim construction projects. So, what are we to make of all this? The connection between the Nephilim and the Anunnaki remains a topic of heated debate. While ancient texts provide tantalizing clues, concrete evidence remains elusive. Are these accounts merely myths and legends, or do they point to a hidden chapter in human history? As we continue to uncover new archaeological findings and re-examine ancient texts with modern technology, we may get closer to answering these questions. But for now, the mystery of the Nephilim and their potential connection to the Anunnaki remains one of the most fascinating enigmas of our ancient past. What do you think? Were the Nephilim real? Did they have a connection to the Anunnaki, or are these stories simply the product of ancient imaginations? The debate continues. And as always, the truth may be stranger than fiction. Next, let us look at giants across multiple cultures, from Greece to North America. Have you ever wondered about the stories of giants that seem to pop up in cultures all around the world? It's a fascinating topic that's captured the imagination of people for centuries. So, what exactly do we mean when we talk about giants in mythology? Well, these aren't just tall people we're talking about. These are often colossal beings, sometimes described as towering over mountains or able to shape the very landscape around them. But here's the interesting part. These stories aren't confined to just one part of the world. They seem to crop up everywhere. Let's start with the Greek Titans. Now, when did these stories first emerge? We're looking at myths that date back to at least the 8th century BCE, if not earlier. Can you imagine living in ancient Greece during that time? Picture yourself in a small village, surrounded by olive groves and vineyards. The air is filled with the scent of the Mediterranean, and in the distance, you can see the silhouette of Mount Olympus. It's in this setting that stories of the Titans were passed down from generation to generation. But who were the Titans exactly? They were a race of powerful deities that ruled during the legendary Golden Age. These weren't just big humans. We're talking about beings so massive that they could hold up the sky. Atlas, for example, was said to carry the weight of the heavens on his shoulders, a being so enormous that he could bear the weight of the entire sky. Now, let's shift our focus to another part of the world, Scandinavia. Have you heard of the Jotnar from Norse mythology? These were the giants of the frozen north, and their stories date back to at least the Viking Age, around the 8th to the 11th century. Imagine living in a Norse settlement during this time. The winters are harsh, with snow blanketing the landscape and icy winds howling through the fjords. It's in this unforgiving environment that stories of the Jotnar took root. The Jotnar were often portrayed as the enemies of the gods, but they weren't always evil. Some were wise, some were foolish, and others were downright mischievous. They were said to dwell in Jotunheim, a realm of ice and stone. Can you picture these massive beings as tall as mountains, striding across glaciers and shaping the rugged landscape of Scandinavia? But let's not forget about the giants in Native American legends. These stories span a vast continent and countless cultures, with some depictions dating back thousands of years. Imagine yourself in North America, long before European contact. You might be in a pueblo in the southwest, a longhouse in the northeast, or a village on the Great Plains. Each of these diverse cultures had their own stories of giant beings. In many Native American traditions, giants were often associated with the creation of landscape features. For example, the Paiute people of Nevada, Televsitica, a race of red-haired giants who were said to be cannibals. According to legend, these giants were eventually trapped in a cave and burned, creating the red-tinged rocks found in some areas of Nevada. Can you imagine the awe and fear these stories must have inspired? So again, it's interesting. Why do we see these similar stories of giants across such different cultures? With the Greek Titans, these colossal beings were said to have ruled the world before the Olympian gods came along. Can you imagine what it would have been like to live in a time when people believed these massive creatures roamed the earth? Imagine the life in ancient Greece, around 800 BCE, walking through a bustling marketplace. You might overhear storytellers recounting stories of Cronus, the leader of the Titans, who was said to be vastly tall. The temples dedicated to these beings would have been enormous, with towering columns and intricate carvings depicting their epic battles. But the Greeks weren't the only ones with stories of giants. What about the Norse Jotnar in Scandinavia? These frost giants were a central part of Norse mythology, believed to be the primordial beings that existed before the gods. If we transport ourselves to Scandinavia around 1200 years ago, we might find ourselves huddled around a fire in a longhouse, listening to a skald or poet recount the myths of these fearsome creatures. The Jotnar was said to be as tall as mountains, with the power to shape the very landscape around them. Can you imagine the awe and fear these stories would have inspired in people living in the harsh Nordic climate? Back across the ocean to the Americas, Native American cultures have their own rich traditions of giant beings. Take for example the stories of the Algonquin people, who spoke of beings called the Glooscap giants. These beings were said to have shaped the land and taught humans how to live in harmony with nature. If we could step back in time to pre-Columbian North America, we might find ourselves sitting in a circle, listening to an elder recount these myths as the smoke from a sacred fire crackles into the night sky. It's fascinating to think about how these stories of giants seem to be a global phenomenon. Why do you think that is? Could it be that there's some shared memory of truly massive beings that once walked the earth? Or is it simply a way for cultures to explain the natural world around them? When we look at these myths side by side, we start to see some interesting patterns. Many of these giant beings are associated with the creation of the world or with shaping the landscape. The Greek Titans were said to have ruled during the Golden Age before being overthrown by the Olympian gods. The Norse Jotnar were believed to be the primordial beings from whose body the world was formed. And many Native American giant myths involve these beings creating mountains, rivers, and other natural features. But it's not just about creation. These giant myths often involve conflict with the gods or heroes of the culture. In Greek mythology, we have the famous Titnamachi, the war between the Titans and the Olympian gods. Norse mythology is full of stories of Thor battling against the Jotnar giants, and in many Native American accounts, we find heroes who must outsmart or defeat giant beings to protect their people. So, what can we make of all this? Is it possible that these stories are more than just myths? Some researchers have suggested that these sagas of giants might be a cultural memory of encounters with megafauna, the enormous animals that roamed the earth during the Pleistocene epoch period. Imagine early humans coming face to face with a woolly mammoth or a giant ground sloth. Over time, could these encounters have evolved into stories of humanoid giants? Others have proposed more controversial theories. Earlier we spoke about the Nephilim mentioned in the Bible, or the Anunnaki from Sumerian mythology. Some ancient astronaut theorists suggest that these beings might have been extraterrestrial visitors, who were perceived as giants by ancient humans. While these ideas are certainly intriguing, it is important to approach them with a critical eye and consider the scientific evidence, or lack thereof. Regardless of their origin, these stories of giants have had a profound impact on human culture. They've shaped our understanding of the world, influenced our art and literature, and continue to captivate us to this day. Just think about how many modern stories still feature giant beings, from fantasy novels to blockbuster movies. But let's bring it back to the cultures we've been discussing. In ancient Greece, the myth of the Titans wasn't just a story. It was a fundamental part of their worldview. The idea of a previous age ruled by these giant beings helped to explain the world around them, and gave context to their own gods and heroes. The remains of massive temples dedicated to the Olympian gods, like the Parthenon in Athens, still stand as a testament to this belief system. In Norse culture, the Jotnar were more than just enemies of the gods. They were seen as forces of nature, embodying the harsh and unforgiving aspects of the world, living in the cold, rugged landscapes of Scandinavia. It's not hard to see how these myths might have developed. The idea of frost giants shaping the fjords and mountains would have resonated deeply with people trying to make sense of their environment. And for many Native American cultures, stories of giants were often tied to important lessons about living in harmony with the natural world. These accounts weren't just entertainment. They were a way of passing down crucial knowledge from one generation to the next. The giants in these stories often played the role of teachers, showing humans how to use plants for medicine or how to hunt sustainably. As we reflect on these myths from different cultures, it's striking how they all seem to touch on similar themes. Whether it's the Greek Titans, the Norse Jotnar, or the giants of Native American lore, these stories all grapple with fundamental questions about our place in the world. They explore ideas of creation and destruction, of power and humility, of the relationship between humans and the natural world. So, the next time you hear a story about giants, whether it's in an ancient myth or a modern tale, take a moment to consider the deeper meanings it might hold. These stories have been with us for thousands of years, passed down through generations, evolving and changing, but always maintaining that sense of wonder at the idea of beings larger than life. What do you think? Do these myths of giants reflect some shared human experience or memory, or are they simply a product of our imagination, a way of making sense of a world that often feels beyond our control? Whatever the case, there's no denying the powerful hold these stories have on our collective consciousness. As we wrap up our exploration of giants across cultures, I encourage you to keep asking questions. Delve into the myths of your own culture, or explore those from other parts of the world. You might be surprised at what you discover. After all, these stories of giants have endured for a reason. They speak to something deep within us, connecting us to our ancestors and to each other across time and space. So, let's keep our investigation going and have a look into some megalithic structures found across the world. I wonder if these giants had anything to do with the construction or design of them. Have you ever wondered about the origins of those awe-inspiring megalithic structures that dot our planet? The stone pyramids, temples, and other ancient wonders that seem to defy the technological capabilities of their time. Let's look at some intriguing theories that suggest giants might have played a role in constructing these marvels. Is it possible that giants, beings of immense size and strength, were responsible for building these colossal structures? It's a fascinating idea that's gained traction in recent years, with researchers and alternative historians proposing some compelling arguments. Take, for example, the Great Pyramid of Giza, built around 2560 BCE. This structure continues to baffle experts with its precision and scale. The sheer size of the stone blocks used in its construction, some weighing up to 80 tons, has led some to question how ancient Egyptians could have managed such a feat without advanced technology or perhaps superhuman strength. But it's not just about Egypt. Across the globe, we find examples of megalithic architecture that seem to push the boundaries of what we believe possible for ancient civilizations. The massive stone blocks of Baalbek in Lebanon, the intricate stonework of Pumapunku in Bolivia, or the colossal statues of Easter Island. All of these raise questions about the capabilities of their builders. Popular authors like Graham Hancock have brought these ideas to the forefront of public consciousness. In his works, Hancock suggests that an advanced civilization might have existed in Earth's distant past, possessing knowledge and technology far beyond what we typically attribute to ancient peoples. Could this advanced civilization have included giants among its ranks? When we look at these structures, it's hard not to be struck by their beauty and precision. The way the stones fit together so perfectly at Machu Picchu, for instance, or the intricate carvings found at Angkor Wat. These aren't just functional buildings, they're works of art on a monumental scale. But it's not just their aesthetic appeal that's impressive. Many of these ancient sites demonstrate an uncanny alignment with celestial bodies. The pyramids of Giza, for example, are famously aligned with the belt stars of Orion. Stonehenge in England is positioned to frame the sunrise. On the summer solstice, this cosmic connection has led some researchers to propose that these structures were built with a deep understanding of astronomy and sacred geometry. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Some theories suggest that an advanced race of beings, sometimes referred to as the Anunnaki, might have been involved in the creation of these structures. According to these ideas, the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial visitors who came to Earth in the distant past and interbred with humans, creating a race of giants. These giants possessed both the strength of their Anunnaki parentage and the adaptability of their human side. Could have been the perfect workforce for constructing these massive monuments. Their size and strength would have made moving and placing enormous stone blocks a much more manageable task. But why would they build these structures? Some theorists propose that these buildings served as energy generators or communication devices, utilizing principles of sacred geometry and Earth's natural energy fields in ways we're only beginning to understand. Of course, it's important to note that these are just theories. The mainstream scientific community generally attributes the construction of these ancient wonders to the ingenuity and hard work of the civilizations we know from the historical record. They argue that with enough time, manpower, and clever engineering techniques, humans are capable of incredible feats of construction. Yet the allure of the giant builder theory persists. It taps into our fascination with the unknown, our desire to uncover hidden histories, and our awe at the magnificent structures left behind by our ancestors. So, as we ponder these ancient mysteries, we're left with more questions than answers. Were giants really responsible for building the pyramids and other megalithic structures? Did advanced beings like the Anunnaki play a role in human history? Or are these ideas simply the product of our imagination, our attempt to explain the seemingly inexplicable achievements of our ancestors? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. These ancient structures continue to captivate us, inspiring wonder and sparking our curiosity about the capabilities of those who came before us. They stand as testament to human ingenuity, or perhaps to something even more extraordinary. Thank you for watching this episode of the Nephilim Ancient Giants. I hope you enjoyed the rain and the thunder in our storytelling. If you did, please subscribe and comment below. And with that, see you next time.